Imagine you're young and you're getting it done. You're raising money for the DNC. You're raising money for Democrats. And then suddenly you wake up one day and say, there's something wrong here. That's the story of Lindy Li. It's a lot more complicated than that. But Lindy, first of all, great to meet you face to face. We follow
Joe,
each other
you're the
now. And thanks
best.
for coming on.
It's so good to be with you. I've watched you from afar for a while now, and you
Thank
are
you.
just crushing it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. You're originally from China, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, we went. I've been to China. I adopted my daughter Gia in China. She's from Hunan Province.
Oh,
And
wow.
when I went there, first of all, the people are very nice, but they're very
People
scared.
are very, very nice.
But they
The
appear to be
government,
scared to
however,
death, though, right? I mean, Lindy, they're afraid of the government, aren't they?
they're very afraid. The government is a different story. The people are wonderful, but the biggest victims of the government is actually the Chinese people. And
100%.
it's just very unfortunate.
Well, I'm glad that you made your way out of there. You ended up going to what? Great Britain, and then you ended up coming here at what age?
4 or 5.
Okay, so you've been here a long time. Is Philadelphia sort of your hometown?
I've been in Pennsylvania for much of my life. Like, bury my heart here in Pennsylvania. I love this place so, so much. The Schuylkill River, everything. We just had the Eagles parade today. The city is brimming with just happiness and joy. This is my city, man. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Well, I'm
But
glad.
I'm in Florida in a few days, so
Right. Well, for me, first of all, congratulations to the the Eagles. I don't watch much NFL football, but when I do, I have no problem with the Eagles winning. It was a great game.
it was
The reason why I wanted to have you on is actually kind of simple. You were somebody who raised millions and millions and millions of dollars for Biden, for Harris, for other Democrats that we would know, and then it just seems like overnight you said, no, I'm on the wrong side. I mean, what is that epiphany? When does it happen? Why does it happen? And why did you make the switch? Because I've heard you say you've always in your heart been conservative, but you were helping out the other side. Why?
Well, Joe, I've been leaving breadcrumbs of conservatism all my life. 5 years ago, I went to war with the Bernie Bros. Five
Wow.
years ago, I did everything I could to keep Bernie Sanders from the presidency. And just this past summer, I had an interview with Fox News in which I unequivocally stated I am a conservative Democrat. And I am sick and tired of the trans and woke insanity. I'm sick and tired of the open borders and letting people storm across the southern border. I'm a naturalized immigrant. My family and I brought useful skills. We created hundreds of American jobs over the years. That is the type of immigrant we should let in. We
Yes.
shouldn't be the trash can of America.
Well, I couldn't agree more, but the question becomes, and you've got naysayers out there. I'm not one of them. I'm just getting to know you, and I like you already. But there are naysayers out there who say, how can you believe her? She literally raised tens of millions of dollars for the other side. Now she's saying she's on our side. So when you're raising the money and you're already a conservative Democrat, you're somebody who basically is probably more of a JFK Democrat. You're somebody who looks at life from that broad spectrum.
Probably to the right of JFK, to be honest.
Well, there you go. Well, I think JFK would be a conservative today. But having said that, why continue to raise money for that side then?
Well, he was behind USAID, and I am not a fan of foreign. I actually am extremely skeptical of foreign aid.
Yes.
So I think I'm far to the right of JFK, but you don't have to believe me. There are articles in which I state I'm a conservative way before the election. This is not a matter of belief. There's a paper trail. Like 5 years ago, I literally went to war with the AOC, the Bernie Sanders wing
Right.
of the Democratic Party. And that is why I got behind Joe Biden, because I thought he was our best bet.
Right.
But he pulled a bait and switch on us. He ran as a moderate Scranton Joe, like middle class, someone who supports everyday Americans. How did he govern? He governed as a woke trans, honestly, lunatic. I mean,
Yeah.
our White House pillars were draped by the pride flag. That
Nuts.
is not what I voted for.
Well, no,
I
I get it. Let me say this so that you completely understand. I'm an honest guy. I like you and I believe you. I'm not here to say that I don't believe you, but I think people are skeptical because they're like, she's young, she's happening, she's able to raise tons of money, unlike other people can. Why not raise it for the side that you more align with? I get the whole Scranton Joe thing, but you're really smart. And I'm somebody a lot older than you. I'm old enough to be your dad. But I've been watching Joe Biden for 50 plus years. The guy's a lowlife. And I say that because I can back it up. Everything he's done has been for himself, his own enrichment, his family's enrichment. Plus, there are all these allegations about what he may or may not have done with women. I don't get it. Other than you probably know him personally.
Yeah, I
Is it
know
that
him
he treated you nicely to your face, and that's why you felt that way?
It wasn't just niceness, Joe. And This has been very difficult for me, okay? Because I've known Joe Biden since 2017.
Okay.
We met at a cancer event. I used to be a trustee of the American Association for Cancer Research. We met not through politics, but through these personal channels. And because his son had recently died at that point, and raised money for cancer research. So we had that in common. That's how
Right.
we initially met.
And
And
I get it. And his son
putting
Bo
aside
dying, I mean, that's like the major thing in his life, and I get that. But I mean, since then, you see all the payoffs, right? You see that
I
the
do.
oversight committee
That's
knows
again,
that they got the millions of dollars. Now, Linda, you're a smart lady. What is it that Biden had to offer? He doesn't make pies. He doesn't build cars. He doesn't really have a product or a service.
I'm not here, Joe. You and I are in agreement. I'm not here to defend Joseph Biden. I'm not. I'm completely with you. It took me a while to see it, but I saw it before the election. That's why I blew the whistle. That's why I started blowing the whistle in 2022 to the press. So Joe, I'm with you. You and I are aligned. It just took me a while because of the personal thing.
Right.
And I
get
wanted
that.
to believe, and I essentially met him when I was a kid in my mid-20s.
Right.
And so I first engaged with him on a personal level. It's a very, very difficult to realize that your friend is corrupt. It's harder than you might think. It's been, almost a decade now. And he, putting aside all that corruption, which I very, very much recognize, he's very decent to me. Not only to me, but my family, whom I introduced to him.
Right.
But yeah, I understand that he's a corrupt scumbag. Like, I see that now. But that doesn't, I'm just trying to explain to you
Yes.
why it took me so long.
Well, I don't mean to put you on defense. I'm presenting you to my audience that doesn't really know you, and I want them to get the ins and outs because their initial reaction is going to be, "There's no way she switched." And I'm here to say I believe you. I watched the entire Sean Ryan interview, which I thought was great. I thought that was wonderful. I feel sorry that you're feeling literal physical issues because of what you're going through. I love that you're strong enough to deal with it, though. Go follow her over on X, by the way. It's at LINDYLI. Also, go follow her on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere you could follow her. She's basically a DNC whistleblower. You've mentioned a couple of times that you were dropping nuggets, you're dropping breadcrumbs. You started doing some notifications to the media because you knew from the inside that what you believed was going on was not really going on. Something very different was happening.
It was Emperor has no clothes situation,
Right.
and no one had the guts to speak up. From senators on down, nobody.
When did you start dropping that information on the media, and how did you do it?
I have a reporter friend. I actually knew her as a friend before. Again, a lot of these started as friendships. She's from Philadelphia. She's a national politics reporter for Politico. Her name's Holly Otterbein, and we would just have these conversations. And other people at the Washington Post would also reach out to me for comment, but I was never, at that point in my life, just given the potential ramifications as we now see, I didn't want to say who I was, but I was very clear that Biden was in no way, shape, or form, like putting even aside his ability to finish out his first term.
Right.
There was no way he could do another second term. And at one point, I just got fed up with the whole thing, and I went on Fox News and said it.
I mean, which took massive guts. What happens from the DNC side when they see you show up on Fox News? Do they call immediately? Does your text blow up? What happens?
They found out that I was going on Fox News the day before, and they threatened me the night before. And if you watch the Sean Ryan show, I have text with a very close friend of mine saying that I got threatened by the White House.
Yeah.
Essentially, it was a very Tony Soprano-esque move.
Yeah.
And it was basically like, nice career you've got there. It'd be a shame if you had to lose it,
That's sick. It's sick.
It is very terrifying.
Is that the way they kept the message, what the message was? And I'll tell you what I mean. And by the way, it's Lindy Li. Go follow her at Lindy Li, LINDYLI. She's amazing that she's got the guts to do this, and I appreciate you coming on.
You're amazing, Joe.
How does it work in that group of people? They lied and said he's going to be the most transparent president ever. We never saw the guy. He barely ever did a press conference. When he did, there was a name and a picture on what was going to be asked, and probably the answer was written down too. So there was no transparency at all. We had no access to this administration, but they controlled the narrative so freaking well. Lindy, how did they do that? And was it through threatening people like you?
Now I know it certainly is through threatening people, threatening to essentially destroy your life and to cut you off, which is what they did. And so when they called me the night before saying, oh, you better stay loyal, well, they said, actually exactly what they said was, you're the president's most loyal supporter. We know you're going to stay loyal.
That's a lot of guilt.
It is an extreme amount of guilt. And I was just like, huh, yeah. Like I didn't say yes or no, but at that point I knew I was going to say what I was going to say anyway. Like at that point I was like, okay, this is not just my party at stake. This is my country. Like I'm just going to do it. And that's what I did. I did it twice, actually. I did it the same morning. I went on Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream, and then I went on MSNBC and I said the same thing.
Good for you.
And, you know, right to because, you know, that's where the audience is for the party.
Right.
And right after my Fox News Sunday, I actually didn't say this on the Shawn Ryan show. I can't remember, but the White House called me 3 times and I didn't pick up because I knew they were just going to read me out. But obviously they were going to yell at me. I don't know what they were going to say, but what was really interesting was after that day, the same person who threatened me over the phone, I suspect got me removed from cable TV because every time I would announce that I would go on CNN, like I would tweet out my appearances beforehand just to, you know, get viewers to watch. I would get yanked off air seconds before.
Wow.
You know, off CNN. And I was like crying because it's just so humiliating. Like the first time it happened, I was like, oh, that's a very funny coincidence that I would get yanked and be replaced by Ian Sams, the White House spokesperson.
Right.
And then it happened again and again and again and again. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is no coincidence. This is obviously a coordinated campaign to blackball me.
Well, Lindy, how does that work? Does the White House see the tweet and then call CNN and say you better cancel her? Does CNN see the tweet and cancel? What happens?
But after it happened 5 times, I kid you not, 5 times over the 2 weeks, I just gave up. Like I haven't been on MSNBC since the summer. You could go watch my appearances. You can notice I used to be on MSNBC and CNN all the time.
Well, I think that's where I knew you from before all of this broke. I was like, again, this person I believe is like really dug in as a Democrat and a DNC and a fundraiser. I'm so stunned that she's making this change. But as you said, and I want people to understand this, behind the scenes, you were already planting the seeds. When did you realize that, cognitively speaking, there was no way Joe Biden could be the nominee? And were you happy that it was going to be Kamala Harris?
I had to be happy. I feel like, you know, I was almost at gunpoint at that point.
Yeah.
I had to be happy, but we all knew it was a ruse. I mean, how do you go from the worst rated vice president in history to suddenly the, you know, Messiah? Right, it was overnight, Joe.
No, it was, and they try to make us believe. People like this Harry Sisson dork who's over on social media.
I know Harry.
I'll bet you do. But I mean, one day he literally was on with Piers Morgan saying, Joe Biden is sharp as a tack, the smartest guy I've ever met. He was unbelievably cognizant, and he was quicker on his feet than I was. The next day, Lindy, he said, I can't wait for Kamala Harris to be the next president because it's time for Joe Biden to retire. So is that how they do it? Does the DNC or the White House itself say, all right, blast this out to everybody that we own and make them say these words?
Joe, that is a very interesting, you hit on something that you may not even have hit on. You just walked across a very brilliant point. You use the word own. I want to make clear that I wasn't paid by the DNC. I wasn't paid by anybody.
Right.
I just frankly really loved politics and I got duped and fell for the mainstream narrative, and I take responsibility for that. Harry, however, is a very different story. He has monetized his TikTok account. So he gets paid for the stuff he says. He and I are in a very different boat here. Okay. So everything he says is incentivized. I just want people to understand that. Like this is not me speculating. It's on the FEC website.
Well, no, without a doubt. We know that he's gotten a couple $100,000 from some third party that represents,
really?
Whatever thing he's doing. And for a guy like that to change on a day. See, here's the thing. I don't get paid by anybody on the right. I don't get paid by the RNC. I'm not even a Republican. I'm a conservative. So, I mean, what I say is what I believe because I've studied one side and the other and decided this is the side I'm on. I would never today say I don't like Donald Trump, then tomorrow say I love Donald Trump. Either I get what he's laying down or I don't. And that's the difference here. What bothers me, Lindy, and maybe you can opine about this for a second, is how gullible the people ingesting the information seem to be. It doesn't matter that Harry Sisson changed from one day to the next. They like what he said the next day, and they're going to go with it. Why is it so easy for the left, it seems, to own a narrative like that?
Joe, I can tell you exactly why. Because it's a cult. And that's why I've been through what I've been through.
But they call us a cult.
What did you say? I'm sorry?
They call us a cult.
Oh, I mean, come on. I must say that over the past couple months since I've been very aggressively whistleblowing, the number of emails and messages I've gotten from conservatives is just, it will rend your heart. The sincerity, the kindness from Republicans, not even Republicans, but as you said, conservatives.
Yeah.
It will blow your mind. Just the avalanche of love and healing. You guys are not the cult. I've seen a lot of independent thinking in the emails. Like, people are not afraid to call out when, like, for example, even with the H-1B visa situation,
Right.
There are people who disagree with Trump, but there were people who disagree with Trump, like, period. Like, in the Democratic Party, there is no room for disagreement. There just isn't. You just have to toe the line. You can't admit that Joe Biden can't finish a sentence. You have to say he's running circles around everyone behind closed doors. That is the official party line. So you can't believe what your lying eyes are telling you.
Well, Lindy, I want to use an example that you may or may not have seen. You might have actually been involved with setting up this interview. Jill Biden, the first lady, went on with Jake Tapper. And Jake Tapper's interviewing her, and he says, let's talk about President Biden's age and his ability. Oh, we're not going there. Jill Biden immediately started yelling, we're not going there. We're not going there. We're not going.
Oh,
and
wow.
Jake Tapper said, oh. And Jake Tapper said, oh, we're not? Okay, I guess we won't. And then he didn't push her on it. So that's really what it is. If you want access to us, you say what we want you to say. You ask the questions that we want you to ask, and then you'll allow him to set up a teleprompter behind you somewhere to give the answer. It really was like that, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. And I know firsthand that they fed questions to interviewers beforehand. Joe, you didn't feed questions to me. I didn't know what you were going to ask. This is the way it should be.
Yeah.
You know, but they basically hijack journalists and pay them. You saw that Kamala Harris gave so-called Al Sharpton, the journalist, quote unquote, $500,000 before he interviewed her. You see, in all these people, and paying Oprah $2.5 million to interview her for a town hall. This is journalistic malpractice. It wasn't just blurring the lines; they desecrated the profession.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. It's Lindy Li. We're going to continue with Lindy. I want to get into some of the campaign finance. I know the official number is 1.4 or 1.5 billion. I heard that it might have been more like $2 billion that they raised for Kamala Harris. But you just talked about the billionaire Oprah wanted money. Beyonce lied and said she was going to sing. Even TMZ reported she was going to sing, and she didn't sing. Then you had Megan Thee Stallion show. Well, I want to get into all of that. I want to get into all of it if we can in earnest, because people still don't believe that what you and I are saying is true. You were involved in raising that money. You were involved in seeing where that money was going. So let me just ask you a very clean, very generic question. Were these stars and celebrities paid to go on the stump for Kamala Harris?
Hell yes. I mean, it's not even a question now. I don't even know why they continue lying about it, since the report is on FEC.gov. It's so funny to me that they keep saying that. I'm like, okay, well, it's on the government website now, and we have proof that your production company. I think they point to the fact that, oh, it's their production company and not them themselves. But all celebrities are paid through their companies,
Right.
No one is paid, through personal check. And so it's very disingenuous. Frankly, no, actually, I'm going to call it like it is. It's very deceitful.
Well, it is deceitful. Well, let me ask you this. Did the DNC or the Harris campaign purposely lie that Beyonce was going to sing because it packed that hall?
Absolutely. And at that point, the night that they did it at the convention, we were talking about it behind, backstage, saying this will be part of history, and people are going to point to tonight as an instance that Kamala Harris is not trustworthy. I know it sounds flippant to you because it's about a celebrity, but the fact that you dangled Beyonce at the convention and you didn't nip that rumor in the bud. How long was that rumor going on, like prior to the last day? For the entire week. They just let the rumor run wild because they wanted to fill the stadium to the rafters, which they successfully did. People weren't there for Kamala Harris, who is not an orator, Her speeches are, let's be honest, boring at best.
Yes.
So people showed up for Beyonce. It's Chicago. It's like, Beyonce land. So they manipulated the press. They manipulated the American people into showing up. And they did it again.
Well, you and I are calling it a rumor, but again, it really wasn't. It was a plant, wasn't it? Didn't the DNC or the Harris campaign literally tell these out? E News Daily would not say Beyonce was going to sing if somebody in an official capacity at her campaign didn't say it. They didn't make it up.
You're right. You're right. Rumor is not the word. A lie.
It's Lindy Li. Go and follow her.
Lie.
I want people to go find. We're a little bit of a delay. I don't mean to talk over you. It's at Lindy Li, at LindyLi, over on X. She's got a great X following, and you'll see her all over the place. I love that you're doing these interviews, and thank you for giving me some time. So they out and out lied about that. Then they had a concert with Megan Thee Stallion, and as soon as
gosh, that was gross. By the way,
this was representative of the party of the campaign. It was disgusting.
Like, butt hanging out, like her midriff was showing, and it was supposed to be a presidential event. I saw that, and I'm like, who are they appealing to here?
When you were part of raising money and trying to get her elected, I know that you were working behind the scenes to not get her elected and to let people know what was really going on. I get all that. Let me ask you this though: when you see something like that getting set up, were you high enough rank, because you were way up there? Were you in a position where you could tell the campaign, "What are you doing? You can't have Megan Thee Stallion come up here and shake her ass around. You can't do that."
They lied to us. They lied to us about the celebrity endorsements. Oh, by the way, we thought they were free. So first of all, we didn't. I couldn't even have. It wasn't even on my bingo card that they were paying millions of dollars to these celebrities. Okay, Joe, it was so out of the realm of possibility for me that I didn't even consider it. I never even heard of anything like this before. Joe Biden didn't do it. Right. Well, I guess no one really wanted to endorse him anyway. But you know what I mean. Like it is just so out of the norm. Trump didn't do it. Like Carrie Underwood just performed at his inauguration.
Right.
She did that for free.
Right.
Because it's an honor, because she wanted to. Okay. So they lied to us. They were not transparent about the way they handled the money. You think that I could get people to write $1 million checks for Megan Thee Stallion or, Cardi B? You think so? Like let's be clear, my donors are business people. Like, I used to work for Morgan Stanley, and the investment bank, and, very, very stable, level-headed business people. There's no way they would have given money had they known that the money was squandered like this. We didn't find out until after the quarterly report was filed. The campaign was so short at that point that, and the FEC report is filed on a quarterly basis. We just frankly had no idea. And then they told us that Kamala Harris would win 3 to 4 battleground states.
None.
Yeah, she
goose egg. Lindy, were you at any of these interviews that she did? Were you at the 60 Minutes interview? Were you at the Brett Baer interview? Were you there?
I was not a staffer. I was on her National Finance Committee.
When you saw her do these interviews, though, did you realize how bad she was doing?
I mean, I think I realized 2 weeks in that she was bombing. She was riding for the first 2 weeks. She was riding the wave of hysteria and a sugar high.
Yeah.
But it's artificial. And she can't have a conversation like you and I are having right now, like a freewheeling human being, like man to woman, face-to-face conversation. She just can't. Everything is, have you noticed, it's like so stilted and fake.
Yes.
And I frankly, I even speculated with Sean, I don't know if you saw, like, I don't understand why she can't just be a human being and engage on a deep, visceral level.
Yeah.
Like from the heart, and just without having to, follow a script. I don't prepare for any of my interviews. I have no idea what's coming. Frankly, I find it to be a bit of a fun intellectual exercise.
Yes.
I like it. You just challenged me at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
And you should. That's the way it should be. I find this to be fun. But with Kamala Harris, if she isn't fed the questions beforehand, she has no idea. She'll say crazy things like, unburdened by what has been, or like something about a coconut tree, and it's like it makes no sense.
Or don't fall for the okie doke. It is at Lindy Li, at LindyYli. Go and follow her over on X. Follow her on Instagram as well. She's a great follow, a great mind, and I'm so glad that you're on the conservative side now. I want to ask you about that debate they did. The debate, obviously, she had a sorority sister was asking questions. This is somebody who went to the same school, the same sorority. And then David Muir, who was fact-checking Trump, incorrectly, by the way, and not fact-checking Kamala Harris at all.
Not just once.
Right, the whole time. So with that debate, as you're watching it, the lead up to it and all of it, did she go in knowing exactly what they were going to ask? Because she seemed to be ready with an answer to what they were going to say, and they were ready with the fake fact checks.
Joe, let me tell you one thing. You know the person who runs ABC News?
Yes. I don't know the person, but I know who it is.
Do you know her story?
Well, she's
She
also
is
very
one of
connected,
Kamala
right?
Harris's closest friends. So are you telling, not you, not generic you, by the way.
Yes.
Are you telling me that ABC News didn't feed her the questions? I would be shocked if they didn't give her extra help. When the head of ABC News, the woman is decades-long friendship. They had the same dermatologist.
Oh, come on. Really?
Are you really like I knew this going into the debate that it wasn't going to be fair. And frankly, Trump crushed it. And I was dancing to the cat and the dog remixes that were going viral.
Yes. No, it was good.
That was iconic. That was
Well,
iconic.
well, let me ask you this. Had you been advising Trump, had you been raising money for Trump, would you have advised him not to do another left-wing debate? He did one on CNN where he did very well against Joe Biden. But at that point, CNN, I think, was told, let's go ahead and burn Joe Biden. But the ABC debate, he had to know going in that it was not going to be good for him.
It wasn't, but he crushed it anyway.
Yeah, he did.
I
Would
thought
you have
he
advised him to
did
stay
an
away?
amazing job.
Would you have advised him to stay away?
He should have done the Fox News interview, but obviously Kamala Harris chickened out. She didn't want to do the Fox. I love, even when I was part of the Democratic Party, I was one of the few Democrats willing to go on Fox over the years. So yeah, she was too chicken to go on Fox. And then Brett Baer, her interview with Brett Baer, she couldn't last more than 20 minutes.
It's horrible. It was horrible.
You want to be the president of the United States. You can't last longer than 20 minutes? How are we to believe that you can stand up to Xi Jinping or Putin or whomever?
Well, she can't. I mean, obviously in the 60 Minutes
Brett Baer.
in the 60 Minutes interview, they had to edit everything to make her sound like she had a brain. It is Lindy Li. I know that you've got to go, but I want to ask you one last quick question, because I think people want to know the answer to this. I think I know the answer to this because you were leaking and you were whistleblowing behind the scenes and you were contacting your friends at Politico and elsewhere and letting them know this is a problem. This administration is a problem. Did you want, in your heart of hearts, did you want Kamala Harris to win or did you want Donald Trump to win?
In July, I think it was my cry for help. There's a Fox. I encourage everyone to look it up, actually. I think the terms should probably be Lindy Li conservative, Fox News. Just use those keywords around the July time frame. It was my cry for help, like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
I wanted, it was like the peak of trans and woke insanity. It rubbed me. I'm a conservative. I've been a lifelong Christian, and that just rubs me. It just makes me sick, frankly. I'm sorry to be so strong, like use such strong words, but I want to know part of the woke mob.
Well, Lindy, why is the left so completely enamored with it? Why do they want more of that?
I don't know why they worship at the altar of LGBTQIA+. And you know what, Joe? Next year there's going to be an extra letter.
Is there going to be another letter?
No,
I'm going to add some more?
But I want to I started out like as an American, and then in the Democratic Party, they started labeling me as an Asian American, and then they started labeling me as AAPI, and the next year, before I know it, I'm AANHPI.
So Asian American, political islander, something else. I mean, the whole thing doesn't make any sense, and all these labels don't make any sense. It just confuses people. But
I'm American. Like, stop putting me in an identity silo. Like, stop.
Exactly right. Well, listen, I'm a really good interviewer, so I know that you didn't answer my question, and that's okay. No,
I'm so sorry. Like,
no. It's okay. I'm not calling you out. I just.
So what was the question, though?
The question was, did you want Harris to win or did you want Trump to win?
I didn't want Harris to win. I didn't want Harris to win, and I stopped kind of doing my job around late summer. I couldn't like completely stop abruptly.
Oh, I know. I get that.
It sounds really weird, but I started reading a lot of New York Post articles and realizing that I agreed with Miranda.
Miranda Devine does a really good job.
Exactly. I'm like, this is like such common sense.
Did his getting shot help to change your mind or not?
The way
that was July.
He handled that moment was iconic.
Yeah.
Iconic. Anybody else, first of all, Joe Biden would have like tipped over on stage. Anybody else would have been losing their minds, shrieking.
Yeah. He
had the self-possession to raise that fist, to act, with such dignity. I was like, holy.
Yeah.
This is impressive, man. Like, yeah. I kind of get that, Mark Zuckerberg even on that day, I think tweeted about him saying, wow, that's like really badass. That is very impressive.
100%. You know, in watching that, I was already a fan of Trump. I've interviewed him 14 times. I've been to Mar-a-Lago. I've been to the White House. I was already a fan of his. But even I, somebody who knows him kind of well, I know that he's a different guy now. It's like he's on some sort of divine intervention bent where he's done more in 3.5 weeks than anybody ever thought that he could have. Something changed that day. And I just wondered, because I know that you were already leaking, you're already whistleblowing, you're already done with it. But you, as you said, you couldn't publicly be done with it. I just wondered if that was sort of a tipping point as well. Did that play a role?
It absolutely did. And Joe, I've been kind of crying for help from this party for years now. You know how? This is actually the first time I'm saying it. This necklace that I wear every day, you can go back in my photos and just look back like 5, 6, 7 years. This is my way of, do you see this cross?
I do.
This is my way of thumbing it to the, sticking it in, sticking it to the man.
Good.
Because they hate religion so much. And I wear it prominently in every single photo.
By the way,
every single photo. Just go look back at my history.
Mine's a little bigger than yours, but I think I'm a bigger person than you. But I've got the same thing rocking. Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that your religion is more important than party, because it is for me too. It is for everybody who's a conservative. For some reason, that party that you left,
they have no religion.
Well, they think they are the religion. I think they think they're the supreme being.
Pride is their religion. The woke is their religion. The party is their cult. There's no room for dissension. And they hate actual faith. They desecrate God as a quote unquote sky daddy.
That's so weird to me. It's
extremely offensive. They think we're stupid because we have faith.
Well, we're not, and that's for sure. Lindy, you're extremely smart. I love that we had some time today. I know you got to go do another interview. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for answering everything as directly and as honestly as you did. Would you do me a favor? Can we do this again soon? I really, really think more people.
I was about to ask you, Joe. This is really fun. You are a national treasure. You're a rock star. And I so appreciate you and your daughter, by the way. She's also a sweetheart. It's such an honor working with both of you. I really hope to speak with you again. Thank you you are one of the most important voices on the national scene, and I hope you keep going, okay? We need you.
It's truly an honor to hear you say that. Lindy, thanks a million. Really appreciate you. Let's do it again soon. Stay strong. I know that physically and mentally and emotionally it hasn't been easy for you, but if you stay strong, you're going to find you've got a lot of people who are supporting you, okay?
Thank you so much, Joe.
You're amazing. We'll talk again soon. Oh, yeah, happy Valentine's Day. We're back after this. Stay right here.